Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mental Health Mamas. And if you don't know us, I'm Krista, and that's Cassie. And today we're going to be talking about school and 504 plans and IEPs. Um, so, Cassie, I think you should start because I know you've had success with it mostly, where I didn't.
I have. So Bryson, he's had a 504 since first grade, so like since 2017, and he actually this year just got a IEP. So the difference between those two things are, so 504s are a little bit easier to get. There's a broader range of what they consider a disability. Where an IEP has a list of just 13 disabilities that you
Right.
have to be
Yeah.
categorized under in order to get. So, both things act as plans for your children who may be struggling in school, that may need like little accommodations here and there, just to be successful in a general education setting. But they can also be used in like 811 classes or special ed classes as well.
Yeah.
Um, so when we first decided to get him a 504, like I said, he was in first grade. Um, he wasn't struggling academically, but he was struggling socially.
Mm.
So that's why we went with the 504, because an IEP is more for students that are struggling academically because of their disability, where a 504 doesn't necessarily mean you have to struggle academically. So I actually have like a little copy here of Bryson's, and it is updated yearly at the beginning of the school year. You meet with your special education coordinator, your student services coordinator here, and then their teachers. Um, so in Bryson's, his disabilities are listed as ADHD and his mood disorder because he has asthma. That counts for 504s as well, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it is.
So he has occupational therapy screenings every year to see if he needs that. The last couple of years he hasn't needed it, but they do still check in on him and the teachers throughout the year just to make sure, like if he ever just, they feel like he does need it again, they will put it back in there.
Yeah.
He has preferential seating, so he gets to choose where in the classroom he sits. Usually it's closer to instruction. He's allowed a standing desk. He's allowed to sit in a chair if they do like rug time, and he has a seat wedge.
Oh, okay.
So the seat wedge he has, it has um, like little sensory balls on it. So like when
Uh-huh.
you sit and you move around, like you kind of get like the sensory
Yeah.
stimulation. Keeps him a little bit more focused.
Yep.
He also has a rubber band on the front of his desk where he can bounce his feet on it,
Oh, that's
which
cool.
he
Yeah, that's
really
good.
needs because he's such a busybody.
Yeah.
And just being able to like bounce his feet on something
Yeah.
helps a lot with keeping him focused.
That's really good that they
Um,
do all that.
yeah. Um, our school's been really great about these type of
Yeah.
things um, throughout the year. So it's been, as he gets older, like we take things out that he no longer needs, but we add things that as we notice um, him getting older, things obviously are changing for him.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but he also has verbal and nonverbal cues. So they prompt him to new tasks like 5 minutes before a transition, and then again 1 minute before a transition.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of keeps him from so because he has like a scheduling issue, he gets upset when things change. If he gets like a heads up, like, hey, in 5 minutes we're moving on to another task, it kind of prepares him so that there's not such a breakdown of emotion
Right. Yeah.
when that happens.
Yeah.
He gets sensory breaks as often as needed, so he can
Wow.
use fidgets or stress balls.
Wow.
They chunk his information for work, so gets one thing to work on at a time
That's good.
instead of like being given like a
Whole
whole
bunch.
long worksheet.
Yeah.
They separate it for him.
Oh, wow.
He has a visual schedule on his desk. It's taped to his desk so he can, check it off as he goes.
Right.
He gets short breaks when he requests for movement. So if he wants to get up and go for a walk, one of the teacher aides will take him for like a little walk, and then he can come back into the classroom. He also has noise reduction headphones for louder activities like lunchtime or like special classes.
Wow.
He has a specials folder because he does struggle in those classes that aren't like ELA and math, so like music and art and stuff like that. He struggles because it's not as like strict, like it's more like a free-for-all.
Right. Yep.
So if he gets overwhelmed, they have this folder for him that he can grab, and he can go into a quiet space in that classroom, and he can work on activities that they put in the folder for him instead of participating in the regular class.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's
That's
nice.
amazing.
He has a behavioral support plan. That's like if he's becoming too rowdy in class, or like he's having a breakdown, they'll have a support come in and take him to a wellness center where he can calm down. We have parent communication, so I'll get an email and a phone call for any incidents that arise throughout the school day, just so that I know, like, that helps me, like, today Bryson did this, this, and this, I can address it with his outside therapist.
Oh,
and
good.
like work on it in therapy.
Right, yeah.
And then all kids for 504s get testing accommodations. So Bryson's testing accommodations, he is to be in a classroom for tests with no more than 5 other students.
Yeah.
He gets extended time on tests, so like 1.5 times more than other students. He gets redirected if he becomes off task during a test. And then he also will get short breaks, like if it's a long exam, like the state assessments are really long.
Yeah.
But he gets to take like little 5-minute breaks, walk around, come back, and continue. And then 504 kids are eligible for passing scores of a 55 to a 64. So normally I think you have to have a 65 in order to pass, but he's allowed to be a 55 to a 64%, which is good for, he doesn't really struggle academically necessarily, so
his grades are good.
Yeah.
That's good.
We've never had to worry about that aspect, but it's nice just base, because since last year, since he kind of hit middle school, so middle school here is 5th to 8th.
Yeah.
His behavior has affected his time in his class, which affects his grades. So if you're not in the classroom, obviously you're not learning.
Right.
So he does have that safety net if needed. The school's been really great about if he doesn't complete things in school, they'll send it home with him and I can work on the computer with him. They upload everything to Google Classroom. Wow. And then I can work one-on-one with him on things he may not have gotten to in class because he was having a breakdown, or he just wasn't having a good day in general.
Now, what about the new school that he's going to be going to? Are they going to do all this too?
Yeah, so your 504 and IEP will transfer with the student until they're out of high school.
Okay.
So they're both federally regulated, so the schools will have to follow them.
Right.
When we start school this year, I'll meet with their special education coordinator, and we'll use what he currently has, and if I decide I want to change anything up, we can do that.
Oh, good.
His IEP is a little different, so he just got the IEP this year. They opted for him to be in an 811 class, but that's completely up to the parent. If they make a recommendation and you don't agree with it, you don't have to do it.
Okay.
So I didn't agree with the fact that he needed to be in 811. Where he's currently at, a lot of his issues were because of other students that were purposely trying to make him upset.
Yeah.
it, became like a game for
Right.
them to like see if they can trigger him into a crying fit or like lashing out or whatever it may
Yeah.
be. It really became like a
Sad.
game for them.
Yeah. That's sad.
Um, so I said, I don't think he needs to be in a smaller classroom setting. He needs to be in a classroom where kids aren't cruel to
Yeah.
his ability. So I think at the new school, people won't know him, so they won't know that he's easily triggered, and he can kind of mold his experience,
Right.
essentially. Like he gets to go in there, he knows like none of these kids know
Right.
that he has these disabilities.
Yeah.
And I think he really needs that. He's been a lot more vocal about what he needs last year. Like he asked his therapist recently, like within the last month, he asked for a different therapist.
Wow.
Yeah. And like she was like totally okay with it, and like we asked him why that is, and he was like, well, I've just been working with you for so long, I think I just need a fresh perspective because I don't feel like I'm reaching the goals I want to reach with you.
Wow.
So that was like a
Smart on
big
his part. Yeah.
yeah, I was
Wow.
like very surprised to
Yeah.
hear that because like she's great, but I see where he's coming from. Like this next year he's starting a new school. He wants a new therapist. He's really trying hard to meet his behavioral goals
Well, that's good.
because he doesn't want to feel like they constantly run his life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was like a big deal. Um, I think that's gonna go really well
Good.
for him, and I'm hoping like he'll have a better success at the new school. I
Right.
think we're gonna request for a new IEP, even though we just got it done. It was for the school he's in specifically right now,
Right.
and he may not need as much in the new school. So like we can go ahead and edit it, and you can request a change in IEP as many times as you want. Like it does
Wow.
take a little bit of time. Like you got to send in like an official letter,
Yeah.
and then they have 30. Like here, they have 30 days to respond.
Okay.
So they'll respond. They'll put it up on the schedule. So it took us like 60 days total from like they responded, and then they had another 30 days to schedule it.
It's totally
So,
different here.
Yeah.
Totally different. So I guess it depends the state you live in. But like you're in New York, I'm in Florida, and here they don't like to give IEPs. So we tried with Chloe when she was in, God, when she first started going to school, she needed one in kindergarten. But they decided with the 504 to go with that. So we tried it. She was doing well with the 504 for a couple years, but then when she got to second grade, it was just terrible. And she was struggling more with her schizophrenia, so it was hard for her in school to concentrate and to stay focused, and she needed somebody to be with her at all times. Because she was like getting angry with others because they thought she was weird because of the things she was saying with the kids and stuff. It was a mess. I sat in a room with the assistant principal, a couple of times the principal, but mostly the assistant principal, the guidance counselor, a psychiatrist, all these people that thought they knew my child, and they do not know my child. They only see my child for, 6 hours a day, and they have no idea. And I used to have to go in, not by myself, because they used to try to talk over me. They used to belittle me. And the therapist and psychiatrist were like, we're not having this. So little did they know that I had people to back me up because of my children coming from foster care and us adopting. They're always there. So I still had my case manager, even after they were adopted. Anything I needed, anything my children need, she is there. She will fight for it. We kept going to the school and we kept trying to fight. I brought them in the boardroom every single month because I called it the boardroom because that's what it looked like. And we would sit across from them at a table. I would cry, I would yell, I would scream, I would throw my fit because I wasn't getting what my child needed, and I was advocating for my child in every single one of the meetings. And the therapists and the case manager fought so hard for me. They just let me go. When I was in there, they were like, go for it. All your
Yep.
emotions, let it out. Because they know how hard it is because they were been in other schools in Florida with other children who needed IEPs and they were not given them. And the reason that they're not giving the IEPs here in Florida is because our wonderful governor
Mm.
decides that, if you don't get an A for your school instead of a B, you won't get funded a lot of money. So he'll cut the funding.
That's
So, yeah. So what happens is that they don't want to give the IEPs to the children that really need it. And this is the same school, though, that I'm talking about right now, where an autistic child was locked in a room for over an hour and they just left him there with no one in the room. So these schools here in Florida are horrible, horrific. I even tried a
which
private
doesn't
school.
make sense. Like, because if you think about it, so they're looking to make sure like schools have good grades. But if you gave these kids that needed the IEPs, their grades would be better.
Absolutely.
Doesn't make sense.
He doesn't see it that way though. And it's really not, it's partially the school's fault too, because here in Florida there is a teacher shortage. So right now my kids would be failing miserably if they were in school.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't get the help that they needed because there isn't even enough teachers for one classroom. And now there's 30 kids in the classroom instead of 20. And it's just getting like totally out of hand. And the only reason I know this stuff is because my therapist still goes to these schools. So she sees kids at the school and it is a hassle. It is a struggle. She hates going to the school and seeing the kids because as soon as she goes to the door and wants to get them to take them for 30 minutes to have a session with them while they're in school, the teachers get aggravated or they're missing their work or they're missing 30 minutes. So then she said, okay, well, I'll go sit with them at lunch. Or when they go to recess, I'll come during recess time. Well, now you're taking away. So they do nothing but complain, but they don't understand why these children are throwing their tantrums in school and running out of the classroom and bad mouthing the teacher or like getting frustrated because you put the work in front of them, like you said, and they cannot handle it. It's too much at one time. So yeah, it's a struggle here in Florida. I gave up on it because I had enough.
Yeah.
And being that I'm home anyways, because I'm disabled, that me and my husband, we said, you know what, we're just, and then when COVID happened, they were doing school at home anyways, and they were getting great grades. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. And then we said when COVID was over, I said, you know what? And it was the end of the school year when COVID ended anyways with us because our school ends at the end of May.
Okay.
So it just so happened at the same time, which was perfect. And my kids all passed, which they pass them anyways. Here too, that's another thing. They'll pass them if they're failing in certain grades. Like I think it's till third grade. And I think that's awful because they're just getting further and further behind.
Right, because you get, the building blocks of what you're going to do in the future in those lower grades, like reading and spelling.
Yep.
And
Yep.
writing like full sentences.
Yeah.
Like Layton is in second grade, and they're starting to write like paragraphs.
Right. Yep.
So kids that can't write paragraphs and they go to third or fourth grade, they're going to be behind.
It's going to be
because they
terrible.
don't pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And with Chloe, her problem was that she hates writing. She couldn't read at the right level. And they never thought any of this that she needed an IEP, which just made me laugh because I brought so many things up in that room to them, like how many things and why she needed somebody with her all the time. And they avoided, they didn't care, they didn't want to do it. So,
And I think it's based a lot on like the school and whether or not the school is willing to do a lot of things. Because like our current school doesn't allow students to have like an aide that would go around with them unless like you got to really fight for something like that. Where other schools are like totally fine.
yeah,
Like a lot of the suburban schools are fine with aides. Our city schools are a little bit more hesitant for some reason. But we're having the same problem with staff too. Like we
Yeah,
don't have
it's a
enough
staff
teachers
problem. Yeah, it's
really since COVID hit.
yeah, yeah, it has been.
And
Yeah.
this is like the time where um, you really need more teachers
Yeah.
because there's been such an uptick in anxiety disorder since COVID hit for kids.
Yep.
And at like the middle school level, especially, kids' emotions are not regulated whatsoever.
No. And there's a
They
lot going
definitely,
on in middle school anyway. I
yeah,
mean, there's so much going on with
right. Well,
kids.
puberty and hormones,
Yes.
on top of like they're anxious about
Yeah.
they were home for 2 years,
Yeah.
and now they're being placed back in, general education with a bunch of kids they haven't seen in years. Nobody knows how to socialize correctly anymore
No.
or like regulate their emotions.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad for the super young kids because
It's really different with them. Yeah.
if they were starting kindergarten, it was like their first real year of school.
Yeah.
Virtual learning is all they knew at the time. So
Right.
when they finally did get to go back, that was like starting school brand new. Where
Right.
these other older kids were in regular school, were taken out for 2 years, and then thrown back into it. And I don't feel like the transition was very smooth.
Yeah.
And now nobody knows how to deal with like all of this. Like anxiety is displayed so differently throughout everyone.
Yeah.
Some kids are quiet and
Yep.
anxious, where other kids are loud and disruptive.
And disruptive. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And we don't have the staff to, kind of help control that or like
Yeah.
educate it.
Yeah. And we went from public school to private school. And it was a Christian private school, and we thought, oh, this is great. The school, I mean, I went in there, I loved everything. The classroom settings were a lot smaller. It was more, structured, and I figured, oh, this is going to be fabulous. But then, for Chloe, it was okay. Lillian was failing miserably. I think I've mentioned this before. She had straight F's on her report card, and I just about flipped out. I'm like, what are you doing? And how did this happen? She's in second grade. Are you kidding me right now? Yeah. So it's like, okay, so nobody's teaching my child at all. They're not even taking her aside. And there was an assistant in each classroom at this school. So that was another reason that made me think it was going to be okay. They're going to have an extra person there to help her, figure out what she's doing, because Lillian's like just always in cloud nine, I guess you could say. She's never present, and I constantly have to pull her in when I'm doing school, and it's just hard for her. And she was the next one who started with all this stuff, and it started in the private school. And then I was getting tired of getting called about Elijah. They kept calling me constantly. He's doing this. He just threw the desk. He threw the chair. And it was over the littlest, simplest things. And I will say they did handle Elijah very well as far as when he got his little outbursts. They were very calm. The teacher that was his teacher was very good with him. She took him outside and would walk him for 30 minutes around the school outside to give him a break.
In those IEPs.
Yes.
Like that to prevent
In private schools, they don't have to give IEPs. They don't have to give 504s. But they were doing things to help him. So he lasted there a little bit longer than normal. But then it got to the point where I went to go pick him up, and this is what set me off. I went to go pick him up, and he was coming out, and she was like helping him come out, and he didn't want to leave. And he was screaming and yelling, but he couldn't stay in school because he just wasn't. The mood swings were happening more often, and they were lasting longer. So what happened was she was bringing him out, and he was smacking her arm, and her arm was all red. And she controlled herself so well. And I was like literally crying because I felt so bad. And I'm like, you know what? We can't do this anymore. And I finally got him out to the car, which took forever. But I finally got him out to the car. When we got in the car, I didn't talk to him. I just stayed quiet while we drove home, because I needed him to calm down, because anything I was going to say at that point, he was not going to listen.
Right, it would have been raged.
It wouldn't have mattered. No, not at all. So I learned just to stay quiet, let him finish whatever he's going to do, and get him home. So finally, when I got him home, he was calmed down by then. And when I got him in the door, that's when we had the talk. And he cried because he was upset that he can't be in school. But Cassie, When I tell you I got phone calls every day,
Yeah, I know.
and it was so sad and so upsetting because I'm like, that's not my child. That's not my child. And it just got to the point where I was like, you know what? We just can't do this. And it's really sad because Elijah wants to have friends. He
Right.
wants to be in school. He wants to be a normal kid. And
Absolutely.
I'm tearing up now, but it's just so hard for him.
Yeah.
And I can't, we tried everything possible, I think. And it just got to the point where I was like, it's stressing me out. And I have MS, so I can't get stressed out because I can end up in a wheelchair or in the
Right.
hospital. So we had to think about that. There were just so many factors that came into play. And it just got to the point where I was like, you know what, I just can't do this anymore with the schools. I'm home. They did fine with homeschooling. And thank goodness Florida virtual school is a blessing here because they do so well in it. And it helps
Yeah.
me because they still have a teacher, and the teacher helps me to be able to teach. And they have special tutoring. They have, everything that I need for them in place. And it's all free. I don't have to struggle to fight with anybody about it, you know. And the thing is that these teachers online understand what I'm going through as a parent because a lot of the
Yeah.
kids
They're
that take the
probably more
school,
experienced with.
yes, they are.
Yeah, well, especially because most of the time when kids are pulled for homeschooling, if it's not like like a religious thing or like a political thing, it's
Right.
because the kids struggle
Yep.
from a disability in
Yep.
normal school.
Yep.
So they're more equipped to handle stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where I notice like a lot of teachers in a general education setting aren't.
No, they aren't.
To like a degree they are, but like
Some of them are, and some of them are just not.
right. And I think they're more educated on they're gonna break.
That's okay. This is real life.
My husband just got home with my daughter, so they always got a bark even when they open the door. Girls.
Oh, Toby heard him. Toby, it's okay. Toby, it's okay.
Anyways, yeah, so, when teachers go to school to become teachers,
Yeah.
there's not like unless like you're going for special ed, there's not really like a class that they can take where, they're equipped for kids with disabilities.
No.
Like
Yeah.
if your child isn't like handicapped to the point where like maybe they're wheelchair bound or whatever or
Yep.
have Down syndrome,
Right.
they're thrown into a general education setting
Yep.
until parents start to realize like, hey, this is going on.
Yeah. It's like if they don't see the mental illness,
Yeah, so a lot of these
then it's
teachers
not.
are learning as they go too, and
Yep.
a lot of them don't feel like they're paid to be also like a special education teacher as well.
Right.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Like I understand that. Like,
I understand
get it.
too. Yep. Yep.
You really need to have teachers who are willing to work with you, and some teachers just aren't.
Yeah.
That's why like I made sure to request the 504, and 504s were so easy to get because you don't need to write like a formal letter.
No, you don't. Yeah. We don't have to either. Yeah.
So like I came into the school and was like, here's paperwork from our psychiatrist that he's diagnosed with these things, to help him succeed and to make it easier on the school.
Right.
We need to get this 504 going. They were happy to do it with me. I think it only really took like a month.
Yeah.
For
See,
the
that's
504?
amazing. It takes
He was
forever
young.
here. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just terrible here. It's so awful. The school system is just, especially the public school, but the private schools can do whatever they want. So, they're not under the, state regulation or whatever. So it's just, yeah, it was just a struggle. And I was just like, and then somebody said, try a charter school, but the charter schools here have a long waiting list. So it takes like forever to even, and I just like forget it. By the time they get in, they'll be in high school.
Yeah, we're in charter school, and it's kind of the same thing we do. Like they do a lottery system, So like you apply for the school and then they pull names randomly.
Oh, okay.
Siblings always get in. So like Bryson was already in a charter school. So when Lincoln was ready to go, she automatically got accepted because she had a sibling at the school.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
There's other charters like that I've applied for that
you can't get in.
Like waitlisted like number 45. Like
yeah,
they're never.
It's bad. Yeah.
We got lucky with Bryson with the military school, like military naval school is actually a charter.
Oh, okay.
But they're fifth through high school, but they're separated into two different buildings. And I think more people apply for the high school, so they had more availability at the middle school level.
Oh, okay.
So Bryson got into that, which is nice because he'll get to go to the high school and I won't have to apply for that.
I don't even know if we have any schools like that here. And if we do, it's probably a waiting list because they all are here. It's just overwhelming. But like the other good thing with me homeschooling and working through FLVS, the only other good thing is that our governor does give grants. So we have a grant for each one of my children that was diagnosed with autism because that is an automatic funding that they give to autistic children who are being homeschooled. They also would give it for when they were in private school. But my problem with the private school was they were getting, I think it was $7,000 per semester. What were they doing with the money when my child came home with all F's on the report card?
Right. Exactly.
That aggravated me to no end. It's like you're being paid this money to make sure my daughter is being taught. And that aggravated me about that school. So, like now that they're home and I have these grants, I can get whatever they need. I get computers for them. And it's all through Step Up for Kids. And it is amazing. And I know and if any of you are out there and you're struggling, you don't know what to do, like you don't have computers for your kids and your kid has autism or even has Down syndrome or any type of serious illness like that. They even have it, I think anxiety disorders on there as well. You can apply for a grant. And as long as you have the paperwork that says that that's what your child has, they accept you immediately. And once you're in there, you are grandfathered in to receive those funds every year for school throughout high school and college. So it's amazing. Yes, that is one thing that I will say for Florida. We do get that. And I know there's other states that also do it. So if anybody wants to, I will put a link in the description box on YouTube so that you guys can actually go to the Step Up for Students link and you can see for yourself what is there and you can see if your state is in there. There's a lot of states that are in there, so you might want to check it out if you're struggling at home and you're trying to figure out my kid's not doing good in school. I think I need to homeschool them, but I don't have a computer. You get the grant, you show them that your child has this mental disorder, and you will get the grant. You could buy computers, you could buy whatever they need. I'm talking about like even down to like fidget toys. Anything they need, you can get. And there's a ton of stuff on their shop that you can buy with that grant money, and it is amazing. I've bought my kids so many things. I bought them hammocks because it's a great soothing
hammock chairs.
Yes, and they have those cuddle swings.
Yeah.
Those they have and they're great for older kids. I mean, they're amazing. And what they do for the kids, it's like I never could imagine doing it this way. And it's awesome because like I get paper, pencils, pens. I mean, whatever I need. If I need tutors, and I'm not satisfied with the tutoring, with my homeschool program, you get tutors for free. I also, extracurricular activities, I'm putting the girls in horseback riding. It's called horse therapy. I forget the name. There is a specific name for it, but I can never say it right. So it's horse therapy though. And that is included in the grant. So, they have different programs, as well, that you can get your children involved in. And then it goes all the way through college. So if my kids can't do college, they can do it at home. And then they got all these special programs and things that they can get with their grant that can help them through certain subjects. And I think that's amazing. And now the grants, he upped it. Now instead of 7,000, it's 10,000 now every semester. And you cannot spend all that money on one child.
No.
I mean, it's just, I mean, a computer you get, what, it's, now computers are what, $500, $600 for a good computer for them to just do school on or whatever. So it's like, you know, but you're never going to spend all that. But once you reach, but like my state, when you reach, it stays in a fund for them, a special fund. And then, you know, if I want to get something for them that's not in the shop, I can send in a request. And usually it'll, if it's for them and it's for the proper thing that you're using it for, it's going to get approved. So you may have to put up the money first, or you can send it in, like for the horse therapy, I'm going to send in the invoice. She's going to give me an invoice. I send it in to them, and then they approve it. And then, you know, they automatically start paying for them. What's nice about it too, though, is that it'll go up to 50,000. That's the limit. So like if I can't spend all this money, which I can't, they have money left over in there now, that I'm not spending, and it's sitting there. So when you get to 50,000, that's when it'll stop. You won't get the funding anymore, but you'll still be in the program. So like if the next year comes up and you did spend it, then of course you're going to get the money again. But
Right.
yeah, it's a really great thing to have, especially for parents that just can simply not, like me, have their kids in school
Right.
because
And
of the state they're in.
important.
If they're
No.
not getting, if they're not getting the right, you know, attention that they need at the school, and you're just like, this is not working for my kid. And you want your kid to succeed. You want them to be able to do everything academically, because what is going to happen when they get to college?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You know, it's going to be, you know, crazy for them. Now, Chloe's reading books. I mean, she would never pick up a book and read it. She hated reading. I've been homeschooling her, and she is reading books now. She's reading chapter books. I mean, is she reading at the level she needs to be? No, but the teacher said she's reading what she needs to be reading
Right.
and how
It's
she needs to be
progress.
reading. Yes. So the great thing about with doing the homeschool with FLVS, and I know they have K through 12, and there's a lot of states that actually have K through 12. That's another one that you should look into. If anybody's listening and you're having problems, I would definitely look into K through 12. I heard that that is also a good program. They have teachers that will assist you and help you help your kids. They have a whole program. So you don't have to worry about, you know, like we have a planner when we go online. The teacher sets out the planner. The planner's there to help you so that you know what you need to be doing until the end of the school year. And it's 16 weeks. It goes to 16 weeks for the first semester and then 16 weeks for the second semester. They also have DBA. So like when you're homeschooling, if you were doing it on your own and you didn't have these programs, you would have to get a certified teacher to make sure that your kids are being taught. So you would have to get them, and then they would have to be tested by the certified teacher, and then the certified teacher would have to send in a thing to the state, to the district, saying that yes, this child learned the first semester, they're doing fine, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you go on to the second semester and they do the same thing. Now, with I know K through 12 and with Florida Virtual, if there's any Florida people on here that are listening to me, you have teachers who are already doing what they call DBAs. So every couple weeks, I'm going to say probably 2 months, they do a DBA in each subject. And also, you don't have to do the extracurricular stuff. You can just do the core classes, which is also very good too, because you don't have to worry about all that other stuff, all that other nonsense, I call it, that really is not needed. That's what my therapist says. She's like, the kids are in school and they're in there for 6 hours and it's really not needed. It's mostly like a daycare for kids to not only learn, but to be watched until their parents get out of work.
Right.
So, and then you got the after school programs that are there as well. So that's how I see it, you know.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And with the homeschooling, it's a good thing to look into. If anybody's really struggling like I was, I would absolutely advise you to do it because it is, my kids are learning and I'm able to teach them and not have to worry about, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I'm not smart enough. I don't know this stuff. But there's lessons. All the lessons are there. I'm learning because there's stuff I didn't learn that they're learning already.
Right.
And it makes it really cool for me too, because, I'm learning too. And it's really good because the teachers like really root you on. They're like, great job, Mom. You did it. They passed. They're doing great. You're doing great. Just keep what you're doing. And I love that because it's giving me, the strength that I need to get through it, because sometimes I'm like, oh my God, is she really learning this? Am I doing this right? And you need that person there to root you on, and they're there. And it's really awesome. It's a great program. And I think
that a lot of parents get scared when they hear the word homeschool, but
yes.
I don't think people realize that it's not like an 8-hour day. Like, you really only need 2 hours.
2 hours, that's it.
And you doesn't even have to be during regular class time. Like, a lot of parents that I know homeschool do it when they get out of work.
Yeah, you can do it any time of the day. It doesn't have to be during the day. It could be later in the evening. And I know a lot of the teachers that I talked to on FLVS, they said that there's parents that are working, and I'm like, well, how are the kids doing their lessons? And they're like, oh, either they'll do them when they come home, or they will do them when they have a day off during the week, or they'll even do it on the weekend, or they'll have an aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa. They are there and they are doing the work with the kids, which is awesome because they're watching the kids anyway.
There's also cooperative homeschooling, and I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but at least here there are programs where they split up the days, so like your kids get to go to other people's houses, and it's like a community thing.
Yes.
And like one parent will take Mondays and Wednesdays, and another parent will take Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's still a super small group setting, but it's at home. They're still learning, and it's nice if you don't have the schedule where you can be home all day with your kid.
Yeah.
You can sign up for cooperative homeschooling, and
that's awesome.
They do a lot of community building stuff, like they teach the kids gardening skills.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Because that's the stuff they need to learn, right? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's an option here in New York if you choose homeschooling. They give you everything. You still follow the same lesson plans as they're learning in school. You just go at your own pace.
Right.
Bryson's currently doing virtual learning for the last 2 weeks of school.
Yeah.
By my choice, I requested, he finishes out the school year at home with me.
Right.
He does everything on Google Classroom with a teacher for 2 hours a day.
That's good.
It's not 2 hours full straight through either, which is nice. So they meet at like 9:45, again at 1, and then again at 3.
See, that's good. It's broken up. That's good.
Yeah. So that makes him happy because sitting on
you can't sit on the computer for that long either. I mean, come on.
He's never going to pay attention. But like she'll, okay, this assignment was uploaded, let's go over it. They'll do like 2 assignments the first session.
Yeah.
And then the next 2 and the next 2.
Oh, that's good.
And he stays on target. He's a lot happier. We pulled him because he was having difficulties with other students.
Right.
It wasn't a good situation.
Right.
Mental health.
And it's only 2 weeks. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But I know, that if I ever had to do it again, it's an option.
Yes. That's awesome.
And
is that only in New York, or do you know if it's other states as well?
I think it's based on the schools and their capabilities.
Yeah.
But I know in most states, if you choose homeschooling, that is
there should be programs. Yeah.
That's not the same as virtual learning. So
right. It's really different. Yeah. Clear. Like people think they're going to be on this. Okay. So now, like, I'll try to explain this and hopefully everybody understands. Like with FLVS, there's FLVS public school and then there's FLVS flex. The FLVS flex is what I do with my kids because it's homeschool. That's what it is. And it's flexible learning. That's why it's called FLVS Flex. But you still have a teacher, you still have your lesson plans, you still have all that, like I explained. But with FLVS public school, you're actually in a setting like a classroom, a virtual classroom with other students, which you'll see them on the screen, and you'll have a teacher, but it's not a 6 hour thing. You're not in school for 6 hours on the computer. So that's a good thing too that people could try if they thought homeschool, I'm really scared about doing that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to teach my child. It might be too hard. That is another option. And I know K through 12 does it both ways too. They do the homeschool option and they do it. And K through 12 works with a lot of states. So definitely check that one out. FLVS is only for Florida because it's Florida Virtual School. But if you go on the website for your state and for the schools, you will see that there is learning for virtual school for kids, especially after COVID. There's more than ever. There's so many options. So they're out there. So
you just have to go on your school district's website.
Yes.
So we're in the city of Buffalo, New York. So that's
right.
Western New York. There's a tab for it. We have a lot of suburban districts as well. So everybody's going to have their own way of doing it. But if you do choose homeschooling, at least for New York State, it is a requirement that they provide the lessons.
Right, that's good.
And you would download them, and there is
that's wonderful. See, so there's so many options out there for your kids. So don't give up, don't get discouraged like I did. I was like crying. I had days when I would get in the car and I would break down and just cry. And a lot of these social media platforms like TikTok, I see it all the time. With parents, they'll go on TikTok, they go in there and they're like, just need to talk to somebody or something. And they pull their phone up and they're crying in the car saying that they just got out of an IEP meeting and they won't give their child an IEP and this child needs it so desperately. I get so frustrated when I see that. I can't even tell you, because it's like, it doesn't have to be like this.
No.
And then they come out and they say, mental illness, with children, we need to pay more attention. We need to put more things in place for them to get help and this and that. Well, it needs to start with the school.
Absolutely.
Because that's where the kids go. It's in school. And you're not setting those things in place for them at these schools in a lot of these states. And if they don't start doing it, sadly, it's going to be a huge problem. And I know it. I could see it. And it really frustrates me because I want my kids to be in school. I don't want to homeschool.
Right.
I don't. My kids want to be in school. They want to be around other kids. They want to have fun. They're losing out on their childhood, I feel like sometimes. I mean, we do the extracurricular stuff, which thank God we do, because that's where they make friendships and everything. They build that friendship and they learn how to socialize with other kids. But, my oldest son is 21. He's going to be 21 in September. And he did school all of elementary. And then he ended up getting fibromyalgia. And he couldn't get out of bed. He was bed bound, like couldn't move his body. We didn't know what was going on. And we went through so many doctors, specialists. We had to go to Nemoris. We had to get a musculoskeletal doctor, I believe they're called. And he had to do all these nerve tests on him to find out what was going on with him. And he started medication that was supposed to help him. And we had to start physical therapy. I was driving an hour and a half every day to outside of Orlando. So it was a little bit further. That's why it was an hour and a half from where I am. And it was so hard. And he had to start homeschool because he couldn't be physically in a classroom anymore. And he was sad, cried. It was a horrible situation. But that's how I found out about FLVS was because of what happened to him. Yeah. And then when we started it, he liked it. And he did really good with it. Yeah. And it was good because he got to sit up in bed and be on the computer and still do his work. And, and he actually went to the classrooms like twice a week. We still did FLVS Flex, and you can still go in the classrooms twice a week and do the assignments, whatever that week was planned for in the planner, and the teacher will go over it, and the kids will talk and, do stuff together, fun activities and stuff, which was great too that they have that. But then what happened was he got better, thank God. and he was fine again. And this is a kid who was in karate since second grade. So him being in a bed and not being able to move or function was very devastating for him. And then once he started getting better again, he went back to karate and he started doing karate again, which was great because he needed the physical activity because with fibromyalgia, you have to keep physical. You have to make sure that you're still doing workouts and you're doing all this stuff. So karate was great for him. And it got him out of it. And now he still has fibromyalgia, but he's to the point now where he can handle it. He can handle the aches and pains. He can handle all that. But what happened was is that he liked the homeschool so much that when he went back to sixth grade, which is middle school here, it goes from sixth to eighth, he went back and he was like, Mom, can I do both? And I was like, I don't know, let's find out. So he ended up doing 2 classes at there, and then the rest of the classes he did online, which was awesome. And the schools do that too, by the way. So you can do that with FLVS. I think you could do it with K through 12 as well. So just so people know, you don't have to do a whole day at home. You could do where they could go to school they could go, especially middle school and high school, they do that. But when he got to high school, he didn't like what was going on. He didn't like what he saw. He just was like, and the teachers did not give a you know what. And that's the part that he hated the most. He's like, these teachers are horrible, Mom. He's like, I just don't want to be there because they don't care about me, so I don't care about them. And this is not, I don't like the way they're teaching me. I don't feel like I'm learning. And I was like, you can do online school. And he's like, I want to. And he did. And that was it. And he graduated from online school. But now he's in college, going for his passion. For 4 years, he'll be in college. He's doing what he's going for as his passion. And he loves it. He loves college. But he made it. So I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying, it's like he made it. And this is a kid that struggled with physical problems, all this stuff, but he made it through and he got through. He's in college and he is on the dean's list and he is doing phenomenal. So there is definitely things out there for everyone. So just make sure you guys, really look, go to your district links, in the Google or whatever, however you get there, and just look for it because it's all there for you.
Yes, and if your children are in therapy and they're seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist, 99% of the time, those people will also have those resources for schooling.
Yep.
We have a specialist specifically for our 504 and IEP through our therapist's office, and she reviews all of our paperwork with us. She goes to our meetings with us.
Oh, that's nice.
She's a wealth of knowledge.
Good.
Most of your therapists or doctor's offices will have those type of resources.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to ask.
No, don't.
You have to want to ask questions.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to. Don't feel embarrassed if you don't know the answer.
Right.
Ask.
Yes.
And just do your research. Know your rights.
Yes.
As a parent.
Know your rights. That's
really
a big
important.
one. Yes.
Don't let people walk over you. Don't feel like you're lower than them because you're not in a school setting. You have to really, sadly, you do have to really fight to get these resources for your kids sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's what is beneficial to your child.
Yes. It's what's good for your child, what they need. I mean, like I said, Lillian was all S, and now she's a straight A student. So,
Exactly.
and I taught her. I taught her with help of FLVS and her teacher. I did it. And I'm so proud of her. And she's reading, and Shay was the one that was running out of the classroom we talked about. And she's flourishing. She's reading, she's writing, she's, doing all kinds of things that she just would have never did if I would have kept her in school. And I know a lot of parents, you can't do it because you work. And don't give up, though, because there are other options. I do know that FLVS is also, they started opening up buildings where it's like a school. It's small setting, and the kids can go in there while their parents are at work, and there's a teacher, there's a couple teachers depending on how many children there are, and they have the computers already there, and they can go on and do their lessons, and the teachers will help them. They're there to help them, just like another parent, just like a parent would be. And that's another thing that you could do. I know in Florida, I don't know, but that's why, like Cassie said, you guys got to go out there. You got to ask questions. You got to go look at your district, see what they offer, because I'm telling you that they're out there.
I really feel like there's options for everyone. You know,
Yes.
if homeschooling's not it, or virtual learning's not it, or general population's not it for you, there are classrooms designed specifically for kids with disabilities, whether it's emotional dysregulation, mental dysregulation, whatever it may be.
Yep.
You are given the option of smaller classrooms. There's classrooms that are like 15 students to one teacher.
Yep.
8 students to one teacher.
Yep.
6 students to one teacher. Like, there are so many options. They don't advertise it right out in school or on websites. You do have to go and look for it.
Yes.
But like here, we go down to central registration. You can get all your information there. It gives you a list of what schools there are and what schools offer. Like, each individual school offers different things. So not every school is the same.
Right.
But like, we have like 30 different options for depending on like what we're looking for.
That's good.
You do usually have to go through like a little evaluation or have your supporting documentation that your child does need it.
Right.
But you know, you'll get a placement.
Yeah. See,
And
that's
you'll find something that'll work for your kiddos. So
don't give up.
Make sure you do your research.
Never
That's
give
the
up.
important thing.
Because I never thought in a million years I would be homeschooling. Like, never. And I'm doing it, and we've been doing it for years now, and it's
And you're doing
working
it for
out.
multiple different grade levels.
Yes.
So like, it's
Yes.
achievable.
Yes.
If you're, you know,
And you know what's funny is that my son teaches, he's helping me, and he teaches my they're going to be 5th grade now, but he taught them this year, 4th grade. He did both of them at the same time, which is kind of nice for me because I have 2 kids that are in the same grade. You know, I have 2 pairs of kids that are in the same grade. So I have Zoe and Chloe who are going into 5th, and then I have Elijah and Lillian who are going into 4th. So we're doing it, you know, and my son does his days. He picks his days whenever it's good for him because he works plus college. So he's doing that in between. But like, I pay him. It's his other job. And with the grant, I can do that. I can pay him because he's like being paid assistant to help me teach. So it works. I mean, that's why I said look for those grants, because if your child has a mental illness, they can be approved for grants. Every state has it. Every state has it. So it's not just my state, it's New York, it's wherever you live. You have to go out there and look for them grants because they will not tell you about it. They will not advertise about it. Like, I didn't know about it. The way I found out about the grant was through my case manager, who helps me with all that type of stuff. So,
and most of the time, like I said, like your therapist, your psychiatrist, your primary care pediatrician, we do have that information for you. Just ask about it, and you'll find what you need. And it doesn't have to be you, like as the parent that teaches. Like if you have a parent, like a retired parent, those are your kids' grandparents. It is broken down so easily that even a grandparent, and like what kid doesn't know technology? Like maybe the grandparent isn't great with computers, but I bet you even your 5-year-old know what to do. So.
And when they pull those lessons out, like the lessons that we do are they're so easy to navigate, and they make it very kid friendly, and it's perfect. I mean, and then they have tons of resources on the planners, which are really nice, that the kids can go on if they're struggling in a certain area. And they also record some of, like, if the kids can't make it to the actual classroom lesson, if they have one during the week, like they do twice a week, I believe they do classroom lessons for the Flex program, the homeschool. And they record it. And the kid can go on and they can go through on the recording and watch the recording if it helps them. So, like, and I've done that before, like when I've struggled with something that I don't understand, you know. But the other good thing is that you can text the teachers.
Absolutely.
You can text them when you do online. Yep. And I text them and they respond before the end of the day. They're responding. I mean, I will tell you that I've had such great teachers and such success with FLVS that if I've had the teachers text me at 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
6 o'clock at night, they're just home and they're looking at something. They're like, oh, Zoe forgot to do this or that or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll get it done tomorrow. Like, it's just like a great thing because you have somebody there that's supporting you and helping you through everything.
And there's tons of apps too that teachers use. Like we use the Remind app.
Yes, they have that too. Yep.
We have class code. We have all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
And there's also, and we'll link it. I'll send the links. And we'll link it in the YouTube video and the Spotify.
Yes.
If your kids are struggling with certain things, there's been some things my kids do. So like for math, we have this app called Zearn, and it's like math games.
Oh, really?
It's really nice. We have Prodigy.
Yeah, Prodigy we've done. Yes.
We love.
Yes, that's a good one.
I have like a whole list of online resources that they're games, so kids like doing them.
They don't understand that they're learning. They're learning.
So we'll link those as like an extra resource if you feel like your kids are falling behind. Sometimes playing a game, it will correlate when they're in the classroom setting. Like, oh, I played that. I know that.
Yes.
Yeah. And it really does help. So we'll link those for you guys.
Yes.
Check them out. Most of them are free.
Yes, they are.
And most schools do offer them too. If there is like a subscription, schools will have like their own code.
They do. Yes, they absolutely do. And with me, with homeschooling and FLVS, they do have a code so that you get it for free. So see what I mean? Even the online schools, they all try to get it. Yes, they do. And then another thing is they show me all kinds of other places I could go with the kids to find things out too. Also, if your kid is in speech therapy or occupational therapy, ask the therapist because they know places where the kids can go play games. They don't even know if they're learning too. With speech or with occupational, it's a very good tool, especially with technology. Kids love it on their tablets. They love it.
Computers, phones, whatever it is.
Yes.
You can play all these games. Bryson loves this website. It's called Really Cool Math Games. And it's like, it looks like Minecraft. But
you have to send it to me because Elijah will probably like it.
You'll have to like solve like a math equation to get to your next level.
Oh, that's
he loves it. Then there's like 20 different games on there that you can choose, and you can play against like other users online.
Yes.
But it's all educational.
Yes, it is.
It's better than them rotting in front of like Fortnite or whatever.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. And it's a change, and it's something new to them too, so they're like, oh, I want to try, I'm going to go play this now, or I'm going to go play that now. And they're learning and they don't even know they're doing it. So that's what I love about it. Yeah. So there's a lot of them. So yeah, we'll link them. We'll link them all, and I'll put them in the description box on YouTube. So you send me yours, and then I'll put mine on there too that I have. Yeah, that's a great idea. I forgot about that. So yeah, that's a great thing too. Yeah, and it helps. It definitely helps the kids. So, and that's all we want.
And you won't feel bad about your kids sitting on the screen because they're learning.
No, you won't. Be like, what are you doing?
Playing a math game.
I'm playing math, Mom. I know, right? Like Elijah did he was doing on Prodigy. He loves going on that, and he goes on and he's playing things on there all the time, and he's just like, he loves it. And it's like, wow, this is great. I mean, because he loves to learn. He's constantly wants to learn about things because his brain is constantly going, and he constantly gets bored easily. So for me to throw other things out at him, those are some of the things. Like we always have a list of things that he could do during the day. Because,
I'll tell you, when my kids come to me and say, hey, can I play on Zearn or Prodigy? I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Go for it.
I love Zearn. Like, there's like a whole thing, like it goes through lessons. And then like when you get to your like final level, it's called the Tower of Power. And it's like a fast game. And they love that game.
Oh God, I need to get it. I know. Well, you're gonna send it so I can post it on the link. All right, definitely. I'll have them try it. And you can get it on tablets too, right? Okay, good. All right. Sounds good. All right, well, should we end it here?
Yeah, sounds
Okay, I think we pretty much gave you guys a lot of information. I'll make sure that I post the links down below for you guys so you could check everything out. And don't give up on your kids because you're the advocate for them. So, and they
good. If
will
you have
learn
any
and they will get
questions
through
for
it.
us, leave comments, join our Facebook page, you can
Yes,
message us.
yes, and make sure
I
you
have
subscribe.
summary lists of things.
Yes, yes, and make sure you subscribe because we're gonna always be here every week talking about all kinds of things. So there's a lot to talk about. So thanks again. And Cassie, do you have any idea what we should do next week?
I think we should go more into DMDD.
I think so too. Yes.
Because that's our biggest struggle in our
Yes.
household.
And ours too. So sounds good to me. All right. We will see you guys next week.